Hey everybody, welcome back to our November mini masterclass series, which is all about detox. So today is day 2. We're on our second week of November already. And so we're going to dive into video number 2. Little reminder, if you did not watch video 1 last week, you can still do that. It's up in the Facebook group. It is also up on my YouTube channel. I sent it out as a reminder on the email list last night as well. So if you haven't watched the video from last week, I highly encourage you to go back and watch that because I really laid out a big picture of detoxes, the different phases, things we want to be mindful of. And then starting today and the next 2 weeks, I'm going to go into a little more specific. So specifically today, what I wanted to focus on is the phase of detox is making sure our exit pathways are open. Last week's video, I explained phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 3 focuses on usually elimination by our urine and elimination by our stool to make sure those exits are open and that what is being actively detoxified in our body is actually leaving the body. That's what I really want to focus on today because I know some of you have questions. I've been getting some of your questions in the threads and by messenger, and I appreciate your great questions on the topic. And naturally, when we think about detox, the question is, oh, well, if I think I need to detox, we go to the foods I would want to include, the things I should be eating, or do I need to take some supplements? And I say, don't even go there first until we assess, are our exit pathways open? And yes, everything goes together. That's why we're devoting a whole month to it so we can take things in bit by bit, start to implement a few things. So last week I gave you a whole list of different conditions that would be like, those are, if you have conditions, if you have a bunch of those symptoms, those are signs that your body maybe is overburdened. Like it's overburdened by maybe potentially chemicals, interior things like infections, like medications. Your body's overburdened. And what we want to do today is make sure the elimination pathways are open. And what are some things that if you're experiencing in your body, you definitely want to keep watching this video. So if you know you have a lot of puffiness, you have like swelling, you have inflammation, if your eyes aren't clear, if the whites of your eyes aren't clear, if you have noticed over time that the color of your eye has changed, maybe they were blue and now they're dull, or they're starting to go gray or green, or any other shift, those are sometimes things we can tell from the outside that your body has too much going on inside that we want to support it going forward. So what we're going to talk about today is the physical things that you can do. And the great thing is pretty much all this stuff is free to do. Most of the stuff I'm going to talk about is free to do. There's always levels and there's always options to do certain things, try new things. But a lot of this, and this is what I really want to empower you through this month, is the awareness that, guess what? There's literally stuff everywhere. We're always going to be exposed to something. So how are we taking care of our bodies? How are we giving it the love and the support? Because yes, it's detoxing every minute. Your liver's working, you're breathing right now. Hopefully within the next hour, you're gonna have to go to the bathroom. Hopefully you had a good bowel movement today. So your body is always detoxing. But if we're feeling those symptoms, if we know we're feeling sluggish, or we have the swelling, the inflammation, the puffiness, really want to dive into this today. I also want to address to not go into learning about detox from a state of fear. This is a very common, I don't want to say it's a mistake because it's so common in a lot of the teachings around detox. And looking back when I was really diving into detox, reading books, what's the name of the book? But it's basically like, it's got a yellow rubber duck, right? But it's like basically our toxic world and it's like got a rubber duck on it. So it's just like how innocuous all these chemicals have become in our life. And so then probably like 2015, 2016, I was in because I was really learning about a lot and was like, whoa, mind blown with all of this stuff. And then was starting to see all the exposures that we have every day. There was some fear underneath. And that's what we want to avoid. If we're in a state of fear when we're talking about detox, right? Who might be in a state of fear, right? So some people like are just so panicked and petrified about anything not quote unquote natural because they're like, oh my goodness, if I inhale the cigarette smoke by somebody who's outside the grocery store, I'll get cancer. Or so a lot of times we are fearful because of what we know. Sometimes we know too much that, oh, my exposure to this thing might cause cancer later, or it might cause a different condition, or it might be dementia, or it might be Alzheimer's. And we all have unique experiences where maybe we've seen loved ones die of cancer. I'm not sure why I'm using that one. So it's obviously a very prevalent example that most of us have had experience with. Like maybe as a younger person, we saw a loved one die of cancer who smoked and drank. And so the counter to that is so that we don't instill that in pain on family members is, okay, we know cigarettes, alcohol contributed to the cancer for that individual, and everyone in the family was devastated when that person died. So some people will take the opposite and be so, anti all of that out of fear and not wanting to impose pain upon themselves or other people. But if we're stuck in a state of fear, our nervous system is stuck in fight or flight, and that's not when we're detoxing optimally. When we are fearful and our body's in fight or flight, our liver is not getting proper blood flow. Our brain is not getting proper blood flow. Our hormones like oxytocin that will help clear things out get shut down where we're in a state of fear. So have that awareness when we're talking about detox. Assess, how do I normally come on this topic? Am I fearful? Like, what's my reaction if I see someone else cleaning with a cleaning chemical that I wouldn't use? What's your reaction? Is it fearful? Is it judgment? Is it accusatory? Or can you come to it from a place of neutrality? Number one, I would say a great goal would to be neutral about the subject. I would like to say that for the most part, I'm fairly neutral about a lot of this topic now because I have acceptance. Like, guess what? The stuff is everywhere, and I'm learning what to do to mitigate my exposure, to treat my body optimally. One of my goals is health optimization. So how do I do that? I know fear is not going to help me optimize my health. And that's for when I talk about detox and the daily things or weekly practices that you can start to learn about. It's really for that place of neutrality. And for me, health optimization for the life I want, for the life I am living, and for my future health and for the future state of myself and my family. Even better. So number one is like neutrality. Can we be neutral about the topic? And that's when habits and routines become more effortless. Because it just is, right? It just, there's my Berkey water filter over there, right? It just is. That's just what happens. Great is like, can we approach it from a space of self-love? That's a next level, but can we approach the things we would want to do to support and care for our physical body as much as possible? Can we approach that from a space of self-love? Not fear. Totally different spaces. I'm upstairs. My basement office we had a flood with a storm this summer, so it's getting run over right now. So over there, I've got my sauna, right? So when I go in the sauna, I am using it and it's anchoring me. I use it in the evening as relax and unwind and take care of myself and giving myself a mental break, not, oh my God, I need to get all these toxins out of my body by sweating them out. Right? So even doing the same activity, the mindset around it, how we approach it will have a different effect on us. And even just our, again, just imagine me going to bed after a sauna and knowing I'm taking care of myself, I'm relaxing, the lights are low, this is part of my wind down routine before bed versus being stuck in the fearful state of it. Okay? So no fear. Let's approach it from a state of neutrality. And then can we start to really incorporate these practices as acts of self-love? First of all, when I talked about things like being puffy, inflammation, water retention, constipation, I talked about the eyes not clear, and then swollen lymph nodes. So if you have any of those symptoms, I would first assess, this is why we're talking about it first before we go into more specifics, is what do we need to do to support your body to have your detox pathways open, those channels open, the highways unclogged so things can leave the body. Typically, a cleanse or juicing or supplements, what they can do is they can start to pull all these toxins out of our cell. It can speed up the liver to start processing stuff. But if the highway is blocked, it's just going to sit there. And that's why some people will do cleanses or detoxes and feel absolutely like garbage. And that's a sign that the big exit highways are open. So let's get into some specifics. So number one is lymph. Our lymphatic system runs parallel. So wherever we have like blood, an artery, and a vein, we also have a lymphatic vessel associated with it. So there's 3 running through our whole body. With the lymphatic system, it doesn't have a heart. So our heart pumps our blood, circulates it. The lymphatic system doesn't have a pump that same way. So it relies on muscle contraction and physical movement to move the lymph. People who have experienced swelling in the ankles, lymphedema, that's swelling of the lymph vessel because that's somewhere something is blocked and it is not flowing. If you know you have swollen or tender lymph nodes, those are areas, those are signs that your body is struggling right there. It needs some attention right there. What I do, and I won't do it in today's video because it'll take too long. It won't take super long, but so what I'll do often when I meet every week with my group of people who are doing the metabolic reset or doing other programs, we'll often start our call and I'll have everyone do a quick lymphatic stimulation. Because once you've done it 1 or 2 times, it takes 1 to 2 minutes. And it's a great way to stand up and move our body throughout the day. So a lymphatic stimulation, again, you can just Google it, or YouTube. I love YouTube for things like this, is to address and get that lymph flowing. There's a lot of lymph nodes concentrated around any major like joint. So like we have a lot of lymph nodes in our armpits, right? Anyone who's had breast biopsies or breast cancer, like they're looking in the lymph nodes, right? Because there's so many there for good reason. So we have, our knees, our ankles, our groin is another huge area that often, because I'm sitting, right? So just the act of sitting, is the lymph from my feet going to flow as well up to the top? No, it's not. So this is why we need to build these things in. So our lymphatic vessels all kind of come back up to the top and then dump back into the circulatory system. So we want to make sure, if at nothing else, we're bringing some movement here. So when I have people do lymphatic stimulation, I have them start with their collarbone and just rub back and forth a few times on each side. And then I'll have them go down to their ankles and rub their ankles, and then rub the back of the knees, and then in the groin, and then the belly, and then on the breastbone here, because our thymus gland is under the breastbone, and that is key for our lymphatic, it's key for our immune system. We rub the armpits. So this is why I do this in the shower a lot of times. It's great in the shower because you're already soaked up. In the armpits, get in there. And if you're doing this, if you've never done this, take your time and go slowly and gently. Like that, this practice of lymphatic stimulation should never hurt. If there's an area you touch that's like, ooh, wow, it's like reactive, it's reflexatory, that is something you would probably want to get assessed, right? So is it just, you need to bring some movement to it. There's people who do lymphatic stimulations professionally. Going in the arms, right? Going in the arms and drawing the lymph up this way across the diaphragm to get the torso to get things moving. On the muscle from the back of the ear to here, the sternocleidomastoid. Again, there's a ton of lymphatic vessels and nodes around our jaw and in our sinuses. Why? Because these are points of entry into our body, and the lymphatic system is critical for our immune system. So sometimes I'll have people, we can do lymphatic stimulation. We'll do it on the face. We rub it a few different ways. We rub back here, and then we get in here into the collarbone. And even just doing that for a minute, I've had people like their sinus, you can see like their sinuses just totally open up by doing that practice. So is our lymph moving? So that's something we can do. You should do it every day. And now you know that's a thing, and that I can do it every day. So then it's like, where am I going to do it? Can I do it in the shower? Right? Okay, yes, you can do it in the shower. Will you forget sometimes? Of course. Can I make it part of my day, right? I've made it part of my Wednesdays at noon, as we're like, all right, everybody get up, let's move around. We do that exercise, and it takes a moment, but it moves the lymph around. Other ways we can move the lymph is dry skin brushing. So the benefit of dry skin brushing, it also helps stimulate that lymphatic system, but it also helps clean off dead skin cells. And I liken it to dusting the shelf. Because just doing dry skin brushing, doing everything, well, it's like if you've got a shelf, do you dust it every once in a while? Yeah, you dust it every once in a while, right? Clean what is dead and still hanging around there. So if our skin is looking really like dull and kind of flaky, something like this can be beneficial. And then the stimulation, again, going with the flow of the lymph up to the heart area, helps to keep the lymph moving as well. So like a lymph brush, I don't know, I've had this one for so long, I don't remember how much it costs, right? But they're not expensive, and this one, they're a little bit squishy. There's different ones that you can use. So you can do a lymphatic stimulation, with the dry skin brush a couple times a week. Other things that keep the lymphatic system moving is movement. So I was at my trainer this morning. She has like one of those little rebounder trampolines, and just about every time I'm there, we get on the rebounder for a couple of minutes. That moves my lymph around. The lymph needs lots of water too. If it gets sluggish, it's like the sewage system. Water, hydration is the solution to it's the support to a lot of our detox processes, including the lymphatic stimulation. Do we have enough water? Do we have enough hydration so it can keep flowing? Because if there's not enough water, it's just like gunked and stuck, and that is not what we want. So we've talked about lymph and a couple ways we can move that around. Do you sweat a few times a week? We're talking about, for those of you joining in, welcome. We're talking about what are the things we can do to make sure that if I want to get rid of some stuff in my body that has served its purpose, I'm good, we can get it out. There's an overload, I'm feeling it. How do we get it out? What are the physical things I do without speeding any process up? We're just helping our body's natural processes, right? If you're teaching a kid to tie their shoes, you're going to help them for the first little bit until they get it down. So do you sweat 3 times a week? That's a really good question to ask yourself, especially going into winter in the Northern Hemisphere here. Do you sweat 3 times a week? Now, that might be from exercise. It might be in the summer, or maybe you're going to Florida for the winter, right? Maybe you're going to Mexico on vacation. Are you somewhere hot? Are you outside that you're sweating? If you're not, with what you're currently doing, that's why I have my sauna. Because especially in the winter, I don't sweat as much. I work out with my trainer twice a week. The other days of the week, I go for a walk, so I'm not necessarily sweating. So that's why I've got the sauna. I used it very little in the summer because I consciously was outside and getting a sweat on. So do you sweat 3 times a week, like consciously? If not, that's a big area of opportunity. So it's because a lot of us, if we're not exercising to the capacity that we get a sweat on, it is very common for people to go months without sweating this time of year. And I know many people will actually go years without actually getting a good sweat on, right? Inactive lifestyle, avoiding the heat, staying inside, staying climate controlled, not really getting a good sweat on. So are we sweating? Are you pooping? Ideally 1 to 3 times a day. before you think about anything else for detox, if you are not having adequate bowel movements, this is where we look first. And the great thing about what I'm covering today is like you can see if it's doing something. Like you get feedback. Like you know if you pooped today or not. Right? Maybe you forget, was it twice? Was it 3 times? Like you know if you pooped today or not. And if you're not sure, it's not something you normally pay attention to, well, during the course of this month, like let's pay attention to this, because that's an obvious sign. Is your body, are the pathways open as they could be? And if you're not pooping 1 to 3 times a day, we need to work on that. Ways we work on that obviously is like water, fiber, probiotics, movement as well, and abdominal massage, right? Some people, like again, a lot of times, especially if we've had surgeries in anywhere in the torso, if we've had pregnancies, if we've had endometriosis, if we've been in car accidents, over our lifetime, there's scar tissue, things get twisted and turned. So some people will have very real physical things like a twist or some scar tissue that might be pulling something that makes it so things don't move through their intestines at the same rate as they would if that scar tissue wasn't there. So just being mindful of that, but yet there's still things we can do to support it. And abdominal massage is one, again, is often, some people will go to laxatives or, oh, you're not pooping, let's just have some laxatives. No. Let's address the whole area. And you can do like an abdominal massage yourself, right? Get things slightly moving. Urine, is your urine pale yellow to clear? That's something you can see a couple of times a day. What's the color of my urine? Yes, there's some medications and some supplements that will discolor your urine. So if you're on one of those, hopefully you know that, okay, that's from, B complex, right? If you have B complex, and make sure your urine very bright yellow. But that should clear in a couple of hours. So the rest of the time, is my urine clear enough? If it's not, that's a sign you need to hydrate more. Are we breathing? I mentioned this last week. So again, if you haven't watched last week's video, go back and review it, because it will, as we move through the month, it'll be very important to have that introduction. And that's why the videos are up, so you can watch it over and over again as you feel you need the reminder. Are we breathing? Are we breathing optimally? One of our biggest detox, the reason we breathe is to actually breathe out metabolic toxins, metabolic byproducts from our body. So are we breathing properly? So I won't take you through a full breathing exercise in the interest of time. But one thing you can do, once you pause the video or just do it while I'm talking, is sit, lie down. You can lie down if you want. Sit, close your mouth, put the tongue in the roof of your mouth, and breathe in through your nose gently for a nice easy count of 4, like whatever that feels to you. And then breathe out through your nose through a nice easy count of 4. And then just do that consciously for at least 10 breaths. So just for 10 breaths, just count that nice and slow, easy, in for a count of 4, out for a count of 4. And notice how that feels. What's the contrast between your regular paced breath? Is your regular paced breath really shallow? Is it really short? Are you apneic? Are you not breathing even throughout the day? A lot of people actually aren't breathing throughout the day. They get stuck. There's something called email apnea, where, again, because we're focused on something else and we're usually hunched over and we're checking our emails and we're on our computer, it's like, oh, wait, am I even breathing? A lot of times we are not. So many times throughout the day. So you can take that quick little check-in while you're driving, while you're on the computer, while you're watching something, while you're standing stirring a pot on the stove. Am I breathing optimally? You start layering these things in, you're giving your body the support it optimally needs to support the job it's already doing, so you can feel better. That's what we're all about. Movement. Are you moving your body 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day? What does that mean for you? Is it a walk? Is it yoga? Is it stretching? Is it a workout? Is it a bike ride? Is it dancing? Is it skipping? Are you moving your body? Right? There's lots of ways we can do it we all have different physical capacities. Right now in this current moment, we all have physical capacities, right? So what can we do within our physical capacity to keep our body moving, right? Even things like chair yoga. I was talking to a yoga instructor on the weekend, right? And how, again, a lot of there's zero judgment of where your physical body is right now. How do we bring awareness to it? How do we start bringing movement into it? And so chair yoga is where a lot of people start moving and bending their knees and their hips and rolling their shoulders and bringing movement to areas that just was never a focus or was never a priority, or sometimes we're recovering from a surgery or an accident. I mentioned dry skin brushing, castor oil pack. So in the last video, I talked about the implications on our thyroid when we're detoxing that we want to be mindful of. So if you're someone who's like, especially if you have thyroid issues, if you have a known thyroid condition, castor oil packs are a great external detox support mechanism. So that's one example of that I'll talk about today that is beyond just breathing, moving our lymph, making sure we have water, supporting what's already happening. Something we can do is a castor oil pack. And so you can actually get castor oil packs that are small for the thyroid. Keeps the inflammation down, helps support the thyroid, because the thyroid really does take a hit when our bodies are overrun with a lot of chemicals. And sometimes it takes a hit when someone is detoxing and not paying attention to all the things that I'm talking about right now, right? And very consciously talking about these things before we move into the detox on November 25th. Some people are going to commit to that, and they want to do that as part of their self-care routine. It's not for everyone, but for the people who want to do that on November 25th, that's why I'm doing this first. I'm like, I need you doing this stuff first. I can't in good conscience say hey, follow this detox plan, do this, eat this, take this, if you're not looking at the whole picture, because I want you to feel well. And then the beauty of things like a sauna, a water filtration system, a dry skin brush, a castor oil pack, these are all investments that are great Christmas gifts that you can gift to yourself or put on your list for other people to gift to you, that over time you build up a healthy house. You build up a house with tools that support your health and then the other people in your household as well. If I look at the investments, my Berkey water filter, I've had that 5 years now. My sauna I got last year. This dry skin brush, I don't remember how old this thing is. Filter on the shower head, got that probably 3-4 years ago. So we don't necessarily invest in everything all at once because we have very real budgets. But imagine the difference if over the next 5 years, if at every Christmas and at every birthday, you gifted yourself or someone's giving you gifts. So if you know that, you requested something that was going to create the healthy home that you wanted, the healthy home that you desired for yourself. So when I look at the things I have in my space, it's oh, well, they didn't come in overnight, but it's been, a Christmas here and a special occasion here. I moved to a new house. In the house I was in previously, we had a whole house water filtration system. So then when I moved, I no longer had that. And the whole house was not in my budget. But I made sure I saved up and got the Berkey, right? So what are the things that you can start to bring in? Because there's lots of tools I'm giving you, and pick the few that you want to start with. They're okay. And you will forget. I forget the dry skin brushing so much. I do a lot more lymphatic stimulation now than I ever did, thank goodness. But I forget this one. Why? I don't know. Sometimes it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And I will be remiss, and I'm going to lose some of you right now, and I know I've been going on for almost half an hour, and I wanted to keep this to half an hour. A few more quick points, and I'll wrap it up. And I know I'm going to lose some of you right here, but just no judgment and just park it, right? Coffee enemas. Coffee enemas, why? Because it helps pull extra things out of the body, and because I'm talking about the intestines today, there's no point of doing a juice cleanse or taking supplements to release things into your body if those pathways are not open. And coffee enemas are a strategy that some people never even touch or consider in their lifetime, and that is fine. But they are a strategy, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention it, right? It would not be complete if I didn't mention it in this video. Some people do them every day. I don't do them every day, but I will go through phases, and there'll be times I'm like, oh, I know I need a coffee enema. And so in terms of like cleaning the colon out, that is one way to do it. That is one way to clean the colon out, is to do a coffee enema. And it does a lot more with the bile system and the liver. We won't deep dive into that, but just park it. If that's the first you've ever heard of it, or you have a judgment system, a belief system that, okay, that is crazy, and people who do that are like whack whack, just park it, right? Again, not everything I've mentioned is for all of you today. Pick the 1 or 3 things. I want to talk quickly about mental detox as well, while we're talking more physical. So mental is not really physical, but as we're prepping for a detox. So over the next week, can you look around your space and say, what do I not need here? Is there something in your physical space, your house, your bedroom, your office, that you do not need here? And so this is setting the template and us looking for things that we do not need in the space and that we're going to be ready to clear out. This is detoxing on a whole nother level that most people aren't talking about, right? We're more than just physical beings. We're emotional, we're mental, we're spiritual beings. So yes, physical, but let's focus just a little bit onto the mental today as well. So having a look around, what can be cleared out? Have that awareness throughout the next week. I would love to hear your revelations for that. And if you're up for a challenge, in the next week, deep clean one small thing. Okay, so I want to give you one analogy, which I haven't got to yet. And I want to give you an analogy of when we go into detox, when we go into a deep clean, think of it like your fridge. So I got my fridge over there, and maybe once a week you go in and you look like, oh, well, these are the leftovers that, no one's eating these at this point. This is maybe a day past due. And so once a week, every few days, you kind of pull out the stuff that, okay, this is no longer good. This is past its best before date. Oh my goodness, I bought these strawberries yesterday and they're moldy already, right? Like, oh man, that's annoying, but I need to clear those out of the fridge. So, sometimes every day, sometimes once a week, we are doing that. Like, here's the big job that needs to be cleared out. And sometimes we ignore it. Like, I've definitely a couple things in my fridge that I'm waiting to throw out until I do dishes, because I'm going to like open it, dump it on the night before garbage night, do the dish and whatever, right? So there's things in my fridge right now that should not be in my fridge right now, but I've yet to clean them out. There's things in your body right now that do not need to be in your body right now, but have yet to be cleaned out. And so we do a regular check. Maybe once a month, something, we're digging for something at the back of the fridge or looking in the drawers and we're like, oh, when did I buy that salad dressing? Oh yeah, that is like, what's the date on that? Oh yeah, that expired a month ago. That expired 2 months ago, and we throw it out. How often do we do like that deep clean and like actually check the expiry dates of the jar of olives that's in the back of the fridge? We don't do it every day. Do we do it once a month? Do we do it every season? Once a year? Right? It's no right, there's no wrong. And then how often do we actually take the crisper drawer out and clean it and wash it? Right? Over time, we like, oh, there's the apple in the bottle and that's all wilted, or these carrots are not good anymore. We toss them. How often do we actually do the deep clean? So similarly with ourselves, we have our level of awareness and the things we'll do on the daily, like making sure we're pooping and drinking enough water. And then there'll be the things we do, maybe a couple times a week, like jump in the sauna or go grounding. And then there'll be things we do maybe once a season or once a year, which is the deep clean. We do it with our fridge. So we need to pay attention like for ourselves. So we can think of like the stuff that's in our body right now, the stuff that readily goes. There's the stuff that we will address a little more frequently. And then the stuff that we'll address every season, every year. So that was the analogy I wanted to give you. So if you're up for a challenge or if you're up for an assignment, because I know some of you are a game, is I want you to clean one small thing this week. And when I say small, I mean like a junk drawer, a sock drawer, that crisper drawer. Pick one small thing to clean. It's a great exercise of seeing the power of this. And what I know what happens if you clean one thing, you're going to be motivated to clean something else. Like if you go and clean one crisper drawer, see the difference between the one you cleaned and the one you didn't clean. It's like, whoa, that's the benefit of a deep clean. Because then once you see, all right, I cleaned this crisper drawer, but I didn't clean this one, you almost can't not clean the next one because you see the difference so much. When you clean the junk drawer out, when you organize the sock drawer, it's like, man, why did it take me so long to do that? But now that I did that one thing, like I could handle cleaning a drawer, now I feel motivated to keep going and I can see the difference that it makes. So look for the thing in your physical environment. Let me know in the comments of this video if you clean something over the next week. What was it? Was it a junk drawer? Was it a crisper drawer? Was it a sock drawer? Was it the trunk of your car? What was the thing you saw that didn't need to be here anymore and that you physically cleaned? Because I want you to, throughout the course of this month, you have a different awareness already now of detox than you did coming into it. So congratulations for you for watching this video. If you didn't watch last week's video, go back and watch it so you get the full picture of everything I am sharing over the course of this month. Next week, we're going to talk about things you want to, again, avoid, not in terms of fear, but we're going to basically learn some things that if we have choices, we're going to try to limit our exposure to them. That's what we're going to cover next week. And if you want to participate and do a 10-day program with me and my coaches, we're starting November 25th. Send me a message about that and I'll give you the information so we'll be all good to go. So with that, have an amazing day. Go drink your water, go move your body, enjoy the day, and we'll be back next week.